As we talk about the immune system, one of the things that's interesting to note is dietary sugars. So let's talk a little bit about sugars and the immune system and supplementing. And what we're going to talk about is the Yacon Syrup. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. And in the wellness category, for the immune system, we want to flood the body with nutrients, flood the immune system with nutrients. And while every cell needs these sugars that I'm going to talk about, the immune system in particular is sensitive to these sugars. So we're talking about glycoproteins, proteins that have sugars attached to them. And if you read and you can get bloggers and all the rest of it, you get a somewhat confusing information out there. And biochemists over here will say, no, there's no such thing as an essential sugar. And people over here say, but if you just basically look at the cell signaling pathways in the immune system and all the different immune reactions that are these surface proteins that are sugars attached to them is absolutely essential, necessary for the functioning of the immune system in particular, but other parts of the other things in the body too. I mean, there are hormone systems that are glycoprotein, like the thyroid stimulating hormone. So we've got a lot of different things that the sugars are needed for. It's not clear to me, and I've tried to look this up and find more information, whether the body produces these on their own or we have to eat them. Okay, so I'm going to leave that alone for the moment. But it is true that we need these different sugars. So, we talk about sugars, we think of glucose and fructose, maybe you heard of galactose, but there's other sugars like mannose, xylose, and fucose, not fructose, but fucose. Of course, there is fructose. These are all these simple sugars. Now, most of these, we get plenty of this in our diet, it's not a problem, but what I experience is that if I get too much of one kind, in other words, just simply way too much of one type, fructose, for example, it throws the body off. And my experience is my immune system, boom, immediately plummets. So I can experience this in literally minutes, 5 minutes after eating some sugar, white sugar, very oversimplified white sugar. And I don't know whether there's chemicals added into the sugar to make it white, to make it bright. I've heard of that some of the sugar has brighteners put into it, or if it's just that it's completely refined and stripped of any of its other contents, mineral content is gone, whatever. I don't know the reason, but my experience in my body is that my immune system is just completely plummets in minutes. And in 5 minutes, I can have a sore throat. In 10 minutes, I can have a boil that just seems to be, waiting for my immune system to drop, and boom, my face explodes. And I'm 48 years old. You'd think I'd be done with with pimples, but no. So it's something that happens very, very quickly for me. My system is very, very sensitive. I have a diagnosed autoimmune disorder called erythema multiforme, so I know my immune system is a bit sketchy. And like I said, that sugar, if I eat white sugar, it was one of those very, very early things in my experience of chemotherapy-induced lymphoma that I had to get rid of simple sugars. I had to get rid of refined sugars, white sugar, and because otherwise I would immediately feel a increase in my fever, in terms of the feeling of increased swelling of the lymph nodes, like it was just basically feeding cancer, which I think that's a pretty good assessment, that simple sugars feed cancer. So if you've got active cancer, you want to stay way on the low glycemic part of things and get rid of your sugars. So what is it about, I need the sugars, I can't have sugar, but I need the sugars. Sugar, it's all the same word. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that it's a lot more complicated than that. And I think that it's useful to talk about, are there some dietary sources of these more rare sugars, these 5-carbon and 6-carbon sugars that are not your typical fructose, and glucose, and can I get those, and does it matter? Is it helpful? So my experience is that it does help, and I do feel the difference in taking some of these other products. One of them is this Yacon syrup. My body craves this. And now Yacon, just to explain what Yacon is, it's a root typically grown in Peru, on the Andes mountains. I think it's the west side of the Andes Mountains. But anyway, down in the Andes Mountains in Peru, and they eat this tuber, okay, and it's actually in the daisy family, and it has also some genetic similarity or relative of Jerusalem artichoke. You've probably heard of that. And it's a lot of fructooligosaccharides in there, which means it's long chain fructose that doesn't actually break down in the gut, and we don't use it for sweetness, or it's sweet, but we don't use it for sugar source. It becomes a prebiotic. So not only is this a fairly low glycemic index because of that, but it also provides a prebiotic to support the gut bacteria. My experience is this is a tonic for my immune system. When I take this, my immune system feels more balanced, more level, but more awake at the same time. So it's a very nice tonic for this, and my system craves this. So I just put half a teaspoon in water, mix it up, and I drink it. And it's a mildly sweet, kind of has a molasses-like flavor, and certainly smells quite a bit like molasses. It's not overly sweet, but people use this as sweeteners in their. I use this as a supplement. I don't. Yeah, sure. If you want to use it in your baking and all the rest of it, we just use unrefined cane sugar, in our baking, and we just cut the amounts down, way down. And like I said, everyone maybe has a different reaction to sugars and things. I know for me, I can't tolerate date sugar, but Amy can. So we all have different reactions a little bit, and I don't know what the metabolic problems are with those things, but I'm just sharing with you what my experience is. I know for a fact, at a scientific level, the immune system needs a lot of these basic sugars as part of the functioning, and my experience is that when taking them in dietary form, like something like this Yacon Syrup, I feel the benefit to my immune system. So, and if I do too much, if I polarize my sugar in one form, like just fructose, then that hurts my immune system. So that's my experience. I don't claim to have a full biochemical and biological understanding of what's going on in that system, and I would need to study it a lot more. And my initial information, when I look through the information, it's not clear to me. I'd have to get a lot deeper than the bloggers are going. So I haven't done that just yet. But anyway, so this is my plug for the Young Living Yacon Syrup as a great supplement, to me, a tonic to the immune system, and as part of our flood the immune system with nutrients. We need those essential sugars. I call them essential sugars because that's kind of the typical phrase. But we need those sugars to be coming in and helping out the system. So that's been my experience. Great product and easy to take. Like I said, just a spoonful of water, or you can always add it to other stuff. I always like to add. If I'm taking my Ninja Red or some of my other products, I will go ahead and add this in, just because it's still nutrients. It's still going in the same way. Okay, happy wellness, one day at a time, one teaspoon of syrup at a time.